intro music, yeah! Woohoo!
Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about the NSEA Protector that just got added into the game. So Galaxy Quest fans, rejoice. If you're not a Galaxy Quest fan, well, we'll talk about what the ship can do to benefit you if you either decide to get it now or you wait the several months it's suspected, well, kind of told, but suspected to take to unlock it for free. So I guess let's get into it, exactly what it does and how it works and all the different things. So it does have a couple of abilities. We'll go over that. First thing I kind of want to cover though is going to be upgrade costs, because for me, one thing that has been, I would say, a pain point for a lot of the newer ships, and this one really no exception, even though I do give them credit for the art design, including the scratch marks. I think that's actually a really nice touch from the movie. I don't feel like the designs are that great in terms of upgrading. So the individual upgrade costs you can see I've started on is not too bad as you start, but they do magnify. So of course, you have a special currency to do the upgrading with. It's the beryllium spheres, which is very lore accurate to the movie. But in terms of actually upgrading the ship, now keep in mind, these are raw costs. This does not apply any of your resources that you have. I do want to point out that especially for G5 players over there, you're looking at over 1.1 million raw uncommon. So the real thing comes down to overall upgrading. And while yes, the economy is getting better, yes, there are researchers coming out that make it easier for people like you to do the upgrades on these ships. You gotta keep in mind that the Gorn Eviscerator needs a ton of crystal, the Borg Cube needs a ton of ore, and then you have other materials that's going to need, and now this one is taking up, well, all your gas. So then you're running that issue of like, well, choosing between research and buildings or ship. That's gonna be something you have to decide. So that's gonna be one of my early critiques of this ship. Now, is it effective at what it's doing? It does have many useful attributes and abilities. So let's talk about some of those abilities, and I'll actually take it out of dock to kind of admire it in open space. So number one is this ability right here. It is the Omega 13 particle, which you can apply to specific ships or yourself. Here's what it does. Protects the target ship by rewinding timing, allowing the ship to survive a battle intact. Amount of hull health the target survives a battle with can be improved with their research. So just like if you were to, max fortify an ally, it's going to be based on their research, not yours. Same thing with the Omega 13 device. So how much hull health they get is based on what their research is, not yours if you do somebody else's ship. All right, now, very, very important. Cannot function if the ship is being targeted by Borg cutting beam or destroyed by hazards, as that's a different type of destruction. And it works like Vimit, so they cannot work in conjunction with each other. You can either use one or the other. So if you had Vimit as captain, you're not getting any bonus to having the Omega 13 device. So those are your abilities. And then also field repairs. If you unlock field repairs, we'll be able to do its own repair. All right, over here we've got Quantum Flux, increasing damage versus mirror universe hostiles, which is very useful. I can see this being a useful ship in waves for a lot of people as they get it leveled up. And then increasing mining rate of trellium by 60,000% to start. It does get bigger as you level it up. You're not going to see that being a huge bonus early on, but I do want to let you know it does become pretty good. So this is using the ability. Keep in mind your researches have to be there as well as the mining laser. Here's the ship ability growth, and then comparing it to ships on the right side. So for example, if I've got a tier 1 Nova, which I do, my mining rate is right around 127,000 trellium A per 25 minutes. Assuming I've got all my different researches, etc. Now, if I had a pretty little ship over here at its appropriate level, what I would end up getting is about 400,000 in 25 minutes. So significantly better, but I'm starting off at a very, very low number at tier 1. So if you're a player obtaining this in the 40s early on, it's going to feel like, oh, it's nice. If you're a player who purchases this the first month it comes out and you're in the 50s or 60s, you're going to feel like it is completely worthless, which is kind of standard. If you get something new, it's meant tier 1 for level 40. It's going to require you to dump a lot of money to get it where you want it to be, or simply to be patient and upgrade it through time. We'll talk about the upgrading process in a second, but back out real quick, back to the abilities. And then you have immune to the effects of the magnetic minefield hazard. So there is a specific hazard in the game that's been added up at the very top with the galactic invasions that many players in the 40s had never experienced hazards before. Well, this is immune from those. As you tier it up, it will also become one of your primary ships for fighting these, just to avoid the hazard if you ever decided to say farm them. By the way, if you're watching this video on August 6th, make sure you check your claims chest. They gave out some free keys, some more of those blue directives. that you can launch these quasi armadas that armada officers don't work against, but still work like an armada. Anyway, back to the ship. I'm not, again, not my favorite mechanic. In terms of warp range, this is actually a pretty good ship. Not as good as the NX-01, but as you see, as you max it out, it can end up having a 900, almost 1,000 warp range if you're using things like Grush, but just base warp range right here, getting pretty high. It starts off at warp range 70 though, so if you're Ops 40, you're going to need help getting it anywhere because like the new Armada systems are start at warp 75. So it does tier up pretty quickly though. In terms of the range, it is comparable to some of your other ships, but not as good as the NX-01 and slightly worse than the Voyager, but still better than typicals. Like for me, if I was say level 49, had a tier 6 or 200 plus is pretty good. I mean, it's solid right there with my FKR faction ships in terms of overall ability. So those are the abilities themselves of how the ship works. Now let's talk about the benefits of the ship and what it can give you. So obviously fighting mirror hostiles is its thing. And eventually, as you get deeper in, I could have saved this for a later time, but I want to go ahead and get the video in. There is a mission that unlocks this path that is in the research tree we'll look at, but there are special places that this ship will really benefit in and have the advantage in up here. This ship added a lot to the mirror research tree and definition of quantity, but if you look on the third rung right here, mirror space unlock grants a mission in the gift section to unlock the path that we just looked at, and then you can see the various researches that you have here. So the Omega 13 device that we talked about before, this is how you would improve it, but you do have to start right here. You need to start getting Omega mirror dust, which is in the mirror refinery. So you can start researching this part of the research tree in conjunction with all of this part of the research tree. So you got quite a bit to go through in here, but there are things like building efficiencies for these 3 buildings. A war room in particular is one that I'm probably going to end up going for, but there is the research tree extension specifically for that. Let's talk about the refinery extension as the Mirror Universe refinery for level 40 plus got added to. So you're going to have your engine claims right there. Make sure you never forget claiming your engines. I do appreciate that I don't have to spend on the engines. I'll go ahead and do these real quick as they're here. And if I don't, my OCD will bug me for the rest of the making this video process. These scroll on down to the end, you have the Liquid Omega Trellium D store. So you need things like this fancy currency right there, which I have none of, the Liquid Omega Trellium, which is earned by raw Omega Trellium in the Mirror Refinery, available when the NSEA Protector is on. So you got to refine the raw stuff. And that is how you're going to get more of the mirror dust than you'll have if we back out real quick. And again, I'll talk about this in a second. There's a lot in this. So there's a lot of like going back and forth and hopping to and from. So you need to get raw Omega Trellium, which is about defeating mirror universe hostiles in the Omega mirror space. Refine this in the Mirror Refinery. We'll take a look at that in a second. So you got to do this to get to that, to get to other places. Now, to unlock all these new currencies, you got to go through the mirror loop again, and not to try to turn this video into a mirror universe rant. Kind of is a mirror universe rant at times. There's a lot in the mirror universe to keep up with, so going through this loop is going to be time consuming. Now let's talk about positives of the loop. Positives of the loop is going to be, there are 6 primes in here that you can now get for free. And I do appreciate prime sourcing. I do want primes to start being like all in one spot. If we're going to unlock free primes, it'd be nice if my dolomite and my particles were all in one section, but that's currently not the case. But here's what you get. You have 3 in the away team's particle, then you have 3 one-off primes that now have the sourcing if you're doing the loop here for this ship. Now, what are the most valuable ones? To me, the away team primes are the most valuable. Those are the ones I've been asking them to add. I really appreciate that. The extended away team, which gives you another slot, as well as the material extractor, and more importantly for me, the maximum warp bonus, I think is great for a lot of players, but that doesn't mean that the prime repair cost is not beneficial, especially if you're a player getting into the 50s and 60s. And then the faction event, that one's okay. I mean, those are more, but if I had to focus on anything, I'd focus on the away teams first. So the NSEA Protector adds a lot to the game. Like there is a lot to go through here. Here you see the spheres and everything that you can progress through. And then again, you need to get the raw Omega Trellium by Omega Mirror Universe hostiles in the Omega Mirror space. So you're wondering, last but not least, like, hey, how can we start getting some more of that? Well, if you hop over in here, if you've already got the ship, now I haven't really talked about the Sarah store specifically in the video, but you can unlock this. But if you're not doing that, you can go and just get omega-13 matter. That's cool, I guess, if you want to go through that, and as well as the common mirror dust, the rare mirror dust, particles, etc. Galactic claims are for favors. These are all the things part of the Galactic Invasion that the NSEA Protector is built in to operate with, right? So this is all kind of like tied in. If you're going to unlock the ship, this is the free-to-play path, which I do appreciate them having a free-to-play path. I don't know how often this event structure is going to run. I'm hoping quite often, as they said that the idea that this is going to take the same amount of time to unlock as your other normal ships would, which is about 3 to 6 months, depending. Wrong one I wanted to click on. I'll click on ship resources. But if you come into ship resources, here's your omega-13 matter. If you want to use the ship abilities, you can go after that there. Now, I tried to keep this video as concise as possible. It's still running a little bit long because there's a lot to do with this one. Again, if I have to say, if there is a negative for me, it's the amount that's getting done at one time. There's just so much quantity with this that even though there are good things here, I think that it's a solid ship in terms of mechanics. I think it's a solid ship in terms of rewards. There's just so much to the mirror universe. This is why I don't do the mirror universe. Like, I do it once a week, and I basically ignore it every other time just because there's so much to do. But I will try to be in more detail. If you have specific questions, hit me up on Discord or Facebook, and we'll try to go through all the different things. You can see I'm still doing my normal mirror pulls, but that means I'm not doing any officer pulls at the moment. And then you have the efficiency exchanges, which I'm not doing those either. I'm still focused on getting a liquid trellium D, let alone working on the new trelliums. But this is the new ship. This is how it works. Let me know if you have further questions, and I will try to grab them as quickly as possible. Like the video. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you later. See you later, boys and girls. Live long and plunder. Stay safe, other space cowboys. And I'm finally done rambling. It's been like 14 minutes. A lot to do with this ship. It's a lot.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.